Oh, Lord, help me this day. Father, I thank you today for your word that you have settled all disputes, all arguments, all disagreements. When we learn to read your word, just the way a documentation is meant to be read, and it's difficult. And for not your word is very easy, but when you talk, it gets very difficult but Lord, just help me to stay in my lane and do what I'm called to do and enjoy myself as I read the word. Help me to forgive those who have wronged me and do wrong me. Thank you for your simplicity of your word. You are the power, you are the glory. Forgive me of my sins, Lord, and help me to forgive those who have sinned against me. Thank you for how easy you made it. And thank you for chapter 5 of Esther, which again is a very easy book. And if we take the time to read it, it will cease and quiet all fires that ignited by Satan himself. We bind your spirit that comes to bring division. There is no division in this book because if you read it right, there's no reason. This is your word. This is not our word. It's not our interpretation. It's the word of what you said when we read it right. And thank you that we will take the time to see what you said, because once we read this today, we will see that this is how to read the word to make it easy. And that's all I can say. And I thank you for allowing me to see it this way. In Jesus' name I pray. Father, it has been a difficult day so far. But I have to do what I have to do. Let's just make it easy. And let's see what the word said. Because really, when you say what I said, and you repeat it the way I said, it's easy. You said this is what you said. In fact, you can get a tape recorder and you can just tape it. And there's no reason to debate it. You heard it for yourself. So when we read the word, we read it and we say what he said according to how he said it. But just as sure as we go in the word and we pull something out of it and then decide to talk and have angles about it, then Lord help me to stay away from that, because it only just divides and bring discord. And there is no discord in this easy, but it's too easy. Now I'm getting ready to go look at this book that has been written, and I want to see what it said according to Esther chapter 5, which is just the account. I wasn't there. I don't have an opinion about what happened. It's just what happened. All right, in chapter 4, the truth is we're talking about this guy named, we're talking about characters. The first person is the king, Ahasuerus. He married a girl named Esther. And then in Ahasuerus, then we have this guy named Mordecai. And then we have this guy named Haman. So these 4 people are people that we will look at today. And we're just going to talk about what they did. Just the history of what they did, because this whole book is history. It's prophecy, but it was talked about in history. History spoke of the things that will happen. So we keep calm the fires, and then I'm just learning it, and I want to learn. And when people bring up something that I don't know enough about that. I don't know. So where we are connecting chapter 5 to chapter 4 is what happened was there was a king named Ahasuerus. He promoted a man named Haman. This king also married a girl named Esther, and her name is sometimes used as Hadassah, who had a cousin who took care of her as a father. So here we have this group of people living in a place called Shushan, well, that's where the palace was. You have a pagan king who does not know God, and he promoted a pagan employee who does not know God. And then we have a man that is a Jew who has been taught of God, who had a cousin whose parents are dead, who has been taught the same thing as her cousin. And he took this girl in as his daughter. So once she got married, he put her in a pageant, and the king selected her to be his wife. And she's now the queen. He had a wife. He didn't like how she responded to him in his drunken state. He got rid of her. He said, I want me another wife. And they made a law and said, okay, you can get rid of her. And he made a law that he could marry, told him, say, go get you another wife. And that's what he did. So in this seemingly chaotic situation, it's the way we think when we don't have instructions. That's how disordered life is here. But God is using or allowing some people who want to do right to make a choice so that he'll see how to bring it together. So where we are in chapter 5, connected to chapter 4, the man Mordecai saw the man Haman after he had been promoted by the king. And everybody, according to the king, had the right or were commanded as such, to bow down to Haman. And Haman didn't know everybody was not bowing until some people who saw Mordecai said, why are you not bowing down to Haman? And then he said, because I'm Jewish. We only bow down to God. We don't do, my nose does not bow down to my finger. It does not, this is how Mordecai's way of thinking was. I don't bow down to somebody, I only bow down to God. Because to bow down to, when my finger sees my nose, it doesn't recognize that it needs to give it credit. So there is no reason that if you have a position, my nose is seen all the time, but my baby finger is a part of the body. But when my nose wakes up, this finger doesn't get scared. It works together as part of my body. So Nehemiah's idea of trying to show the reason why I do this is because you're a man. And for me to give you honor by taking me bowing down is only going to make you look like, you shouldn't be looking that way. And I'm not bowing down to you. I can't, because I serve a God that said don't do that. So Haman gets upset when he finds out that Mordecai, the whole Shushan, is bowing down to him except there's one man that we know of. When he sees himself that Mordecai is not giving him the reverence that he feels like he's supposed to have because of who he is, he becomes vindictive. How do we look at that today? You have to recognize that God called me to be what I am. If you don't give me my title, then I'm going to let you know you're going to see my wrath. If you ever want to test where people are when it comes down to Haman, do something they think they're supposed to do, but you don't agree with, and then you bow down to them, recognize them, give them credit, or don't agree with them. Just don't agree. Say, I don't agree with you. Then if that anger comes out, and then they want to do something to say about you or hurt you, then you know that's the wrong spirit. It's the wrong spirit that if I don't agree with you, then you come back to me and say something about me because I don't agree with you. I do not agree with that. That doesn't mean that I don't like you. It's just that I think you're wrong. But if you do that, then people have to get on the phone. Let me tell you what, and then that's wrong. It's wrong. And I know, I'm guilty myself when I'm trying to express myself, and then I don't even want to do that, because if that's what you believe, then so be it. But if you ever want to find out where people are, disagree with them, and then you'll really find out what they stand on. If you can't disagree peaceably and you have to get angry, then we all need to check ourselves, because one of us wrong. And one thing you can say, if there's a disagreement, then one of us are wrong. So Haman is the wrong guy, because his whole motive was, I hate you so much, I want you dead. But then he saw the enemy showed him a bigger group of people he can kill. He said, well, kill all of them. And that's what the enemy does. His recipe for getting along with him is to steal, kill, and to destroy. So that's what Haman wanted to do. He wanted to do all of these things to a group of people because one man said, I disagree with what you are saying we must do. And so he went to the king, tricked the king, said, you know, it's a group of people not doing what you said. No, that's not the truth, Haman. You lied. You don't have to add anything to the truth. What happened was you just should have told the king, this guy named Mordecai wouldn't bow down to me and I want to kill him, plus all other people. You said that the king would have been clear. But because the king was so busy doing his own wrong, that he just said, okay, whatever you say, do. And then if you want to put some money in the treasury in my behalf, then you can do that, but do as you please with the money and the people. So Mordecai, after getting the notice from the king's signature saying that all Jews must die in that area, Mordecai and the people began to fast, cry, weep bitterly because you're sending out a sentence of death based on what? What have we done wrong? You want to kill me based on what? So Mordecai came to the gate of the king because he couldn't go in because his outfit was, I'm dressed as somebody in mourning. And he cried out. And so the people called Esther and said, Mordecai's down there, crying and you need to find out what's going on with it. So she sent the guy down to find out after her maidens and people told her, said Mordecai's down there having a fit. And she said, well, he need to pull old clothes off. So she sent him a garment change, a royal, something better to wear. And Mordecai said, I'm not putting that on. Changing outfits is not going to change the situation. So he stayed in his grieving outfit, sackcloth and ashes, indicating trouble is in the land. And so he told the guy that came down to go back and tell Esther that I'm not changing clothes and give her this message. And then she commanded him to say, well, what's the problem? She commanded Mordecai to tell her the details of what's happening. So Mordecai told him and then said, here's a copy of it. Show her this. And he said, think not that just because you behind that pretty building that this is not going to happen to you. Because I told you to keep quiet about you being a Jew, but now I'm just letting you know they've been to kill Jews and you one of them. So Mordecai said, I need you to reflect on the fact not only are we going to be killed, you too, once they find out the truth. Not only you, but everybody connected to you. And then she said, well, I can't just go before the king, because if I do go before the king, then I'm subject to be killed unless he'll hold his scepter out to me. And then he said, that's when he came back and told us, well, you know what, you got to do what you got to do, because if you don't do it, then somebody greater going to get us out of trouble, but you're going to be in trouble. You got that position. How do you not know that you are allowed to be queen for such a time as this? And so she said, you know what? If I die, I die. I'm going to see the king. So in chapter 4, she, let's see. So Mordecai, after she gave that conversation, Mordecai left and she said, well, if I die, I die, but I'm going to see him. I'm going to, if I perish, I perish. And then she said, I'll do what I got to do. So that's where it brings us into chapter 5. So now Mordecai left to tell all the Jews to fast for 3 days and 3 nights. And she said, I will fast for 3 days and 3 nights, me and my maidens. So everybody is boycotting food and water in behalf of what the queen said, who's Esther, so that she can carry out the assignment that she will be carrying out as far as chapter 5 and so on going on. There is no argument. That's just the truth. That's just the truth of what happened so far. And let's get into chapter 5. Okay, after that conversation, knowing that she said, if I got to die for standing up for what is right, then I got to die. And then she said, chapter 5, Esther. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel, not sackcloth, not ashes, and stood in the inner court of the king's house, because the world does not understand fasting, because the world is in darkness. So she put on something like Jesus said, when you fast, anoint your head and go out and don't appear unto men fasting. But Mordecai appeared unto her because there's a problem. But she said, I got to go to the world, my husband, to try to get a solution. So I got to look good. Now it came to pass on the third day, after the fast, that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat on his royal throne in his royal house, over against the gate of the house. So the king is positioned, and he's sitting there, and he sees his gorgeous wife. He hadn't seen his girl in over 30 days. And it was so, when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, Esther, that she obtained favor in his sight. In other words, he said, I want to come here. That she obtained favor in his sight, and the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So when he did that, that indicated to her, you can come toward me. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. So she was right there at him, right there at his person. And she touched the top of the scepter. Hey, boo. And she would say that. Then said king unto her, what will you have? What wilt thou, queen, have? What you want, Esther? Looking good, girl. And what is your request? It shall be given you to have of the kingdom. So I'm telling you, what you want, girl? Like John the Baptist, the king that took John the Baptist's head. What you want? What you want? She said, I want John the Baptist's head. He opened his mouth and said it. So this king said, what's your request? And I know people say he didn't really mean it, but I can't say he didn't mean it, because he said it. He a king, so here we go. She could have called his hand on him. And Esther answered, if it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. I want you and I want Haman. Then the king said, cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther had said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. So she had some little stuff around, and they came in. And the king said unto Esther, at the banquet of wine, because all she was serving that day was wine, what is your petition? What you want? And it shall be granted you. And what is your request? Even to the half of the kingdom, it shall be performed. I mean, Esther, what is it that you want? Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is, semicolon, if I have found favor in the sight of you, king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let you and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said. If I found favor in your sight, I want to meet you and Haman again tomorrow at another banquet. Then went Haman forth that day joyful, and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. So everywhere Haman went, people stopped what they're doing to recognize him. That just right there is too much. You going out to take your garbage, bow down. You left something on the back of your mule, bow down. You jogging in the morning, bow down. That's just too much, Haman. But he saw, after he was leaving the king's house, that Mordecai stood up there and looked at him like this. Now, Mordecai had to say, man, they got you up. Number one, I don't disrespect anybody, but bowing down to you is just not going to happen. I'll wave at you. I got that kind of time. I'm trying to feed my puppy. Then I got to stop what I'm doing and bow down to you. We do that in a lot of the churches I was brought up in. If the person that was the bishop walked down the aisle, everybody had to get up out of your seat. I don't care what you were doing. I don't care if somebody was speaking. They had to stop speaking because he said, I'm coming in, and everybody had to pretty much bow down. I grew up like that all my life. And then to this day, what kind of sense does it make? I don't care what you're doing. He coming in. Same mentality, same spirit. And this guy got mad. I wish if an opportunity came like that again. First of all, I don't want to be a part of that. And if I did happen to be a part of it, I'm not going to be doing all that because you came in. But you just don't know how to be respectful. I get it. Where was I? Mordecai, he said, verse 9, then he went Haman forth that day joyful with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. He said, I was happy. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself. Not sure. Get this off of me. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called. Hey, I need all my friends and Zeresh. Tell Zeresh, my wife, to come upside. Come where I am. Yeah, I got to tell y'all something. I'll get my friends and my wife. Verse 11. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches. He said, do y'all see all this money I'm making now? Y'all my friends. And baby, you know I. And the multitude of all my children. Look at, I'm just so blessed. And all the things where the king had promoted him. And how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. He said, I got favor over my life. Haman said, however, moreover, yeah, I got all this stuff. I got it. Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that he had prepared, but myself. He said, I just need y'all to check this out. And tomorrow I am invited unto her also with the king. So I'm going to meet with them twice. Yet all this good stuff going on in my life. I'm eating with the king. I'm eating with the queen. I got a promotion. I got children. I'm rich. I got a lot going on. But it's just one thing I just cannot just get. It's just a bad taste in my mouth at Mordecai. Yet all this availeth me nothing so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. I can't stand that man. All of this I've been given, but there's one thing I can't stand. I can't get this man out of my mind. Then said Zeresh, his wife, and all of his friends unto him, let a gallows be made a 50 cubit high, 75 feet off the ground. And tomorrow speak you unto the king, after you meet with him, speak to the king, and that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. He said, Billy, and asked the king, couldn't you kill Mordecai? Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go there, and well, he was acting as if you're gonna do this before you go meet the king. So let me kill Mordecai before this party starts, this banquet we got. After you ask him, then go and merrily with the king on to the banquet. Ask the king, can you do it? And then when you get his permission, then, so I guess they said, well, just get it straight first. Then go merrily in with the king unto the banquet. And Mordecai said, that's it right there. That's what I'm going to do. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. Wait a minute, hold up. Okay, let me read this verse again, because he caused it without asking the king. Then said Zeresh, his wife, and his friends unto him, let gallows be made of 50 cubits high. And tomorrow speak you unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged. So we're going to go and make it, but we're just going to make sure that it's only being made for Mordecai. Okay, now we get that. Then go in merrily with the king. So get it, okay, build it now. And then go on in there and merrily have a good time with the king at the banquet. And and Haman said, okay, I like that. I like the sound of that. And then he called the folks and said, build that gallows. Build it. That's the end of chapter 5. If it's not in the lessons in here that we can look at ourselves to say, what is it that would cause you not to get over something, that you hold something in your heart against somebody? Because it's just something about them. I can't stand them. That's who you are. You just expose everything about you. If you got a problem with a person and they irk you so bad that you can't recognize nothing but that one thing that you want to get rid of, that's a total sum of who you are. Jesus said, do not put any leaven in that dough. Don't let nothing make you rise like that. Forgive everybody. Stay in the word. Stay away from conversations that don't agree with the word. And just enjoy it. Talk about chicken. Talk about recipes. Talk about a garden. Talk about whatever don't have nothing to do with direct contact with getting in an argument over something in the word. Mordecai couldn't stand the fact that I got all of this, but it's just one thing about you I can't stand. That's you. That's not that guy. Because he's, like I said, Mordecai said he was on his way back home and the people bowed and Mordecai didn't. Ain't nobody got time for that. Can't nobody keep up with all your titles. Nobody can keep up with you. Now you this and now you this and you went to school and got this and now you this. And by the time, no, ain't nobody putting over there. That's the stuff that we do today, let alone all the other stuff we do. But this right here is a lesson to help us to focus on. This girl was willing to die knowing that she got to tell this king. I don't know why she didn't just come out and say it, except the Lord said, no, just do what you got to do on your day. Not just tell me tomorrow. I ain't ready for you to tell me today. Just tell him. If he said go on, tell him today, tell him. But if he let you meet tomorrow, then you just say, I'll see you tomorrow. And it may have been, now I believe God being behind the scenes was just getting stuff ready, you know. He need that one more day. So that's what chapter 5 is saying. Father, we thank you again for your word that we have completed chapter 5, and we look forward to going into chapter 6. And help us to focus on the things that we should do, that we know to do, that are right. In Jesus' name I pray. And let me tell you about my little song I got. It is time to take a reflection of our daily actions. Are we responding to life as we should? Do we place all the things in this world we have obtained above the people we should love? If that is the case, let us turn from these ways and never do this again. For life does not consist enough room for us to miss the opportunity of loving all men. Love y'all.